Well,
What's up?
welcome to the Stewed here at MyHome. This is awesome to have you here.
Yeah.
We don't have like a formal introduction or anything, but I would just love to like do like a little quick intro on you and then
Sure.
kind of just brag about you for a second. So
Can I get like theme music or something?
yeah,
No, I'm
we'll
just kidding.
definitely put some background music on you. So my really, really good friend, Nando, known each other for years now, flew together in the 160th. I know you're out, you're doing a million and one different things now that you're out of the military. So I would love to just kind of talk about your story. We could talk a little bit about West Point, military time, and then kind of what you're working on now and where you're at. So
Yeah. So, well, I'll kind of start with the main area that I'm focused in is obviously real estate related stuff from like an investment standpoint, doing mortgages and all that. It's kind of, I started doing some of that stuff when I was still in the Army, and that was part of what made my transition a little bit, I think, more smooth, is because I already kind of knew the path I was going on. But yeah, so West Point, same as you, not nearly as impressive as you. I was kind of like average dude.
I was pretty average.
Yeah.
Only 1 year things got a little different.
Yeah, okay. Don't know that I would consider that average, but all right, you know. Yeah, so graduated 2008, so a little bit older than yourself, obviously. And then went into aviation, so doing the helicopter stuff, as you know. Made my way to the 160th after about, 6-ish years doing the conventional side of things. And then did a bunch of jobs there where we worked together. And then people think I'm a little bit crazy because I got out as a major at like 15 years and change. And so everyone's like, what are you doing? But I always kind of had the mentality where I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this as long as I enjoy it. When I went down the special operations route, I really loved what I was doing. And I loved all the people I was working with, enjoyed the jobs. But as I started getting away from the things I really like to do, the flying and like being kind of on the line and doing more of the staff work, I started sort of thinking about what's next.
Yeah.
And then some of it, was just a combination of things between, personal side, relationships, job stuff, where I was going to be moving to, some of my real estate stuff. It just kind of started to make sense. And I felt like this was kind of like a blessing for me in the sense that I didn't feel like I was running away or like leaving the military. I felt like I was being pulled towards something else. And so I think that's another reason, because like, obviously, you've done it. Transitioning is a little bit awkward and weird, and sometimes it's a little bit stressful. But I kind of felt like I had the pull towards something else, and so I wanted to sort of pivot into the real estate world.
Because you had real estate properties, while you were in the military, right? You were actively managing them. How many properties did you have then, and do you have now?
So, the funny thing is, like, I feel like I stumbled into real estate. So I just, I PCS'd around, and then my first assignment out of flight school, like deployed right away. So the first few years I didn't buy a house, I was just renting. And then once I got to Campbell and I kind of got settled a little bit, I was like, all right, I want to buy a house just to live in. So I bought a house, in Clarksville, and it was great. Lived in it for a few years, and then I had to PCS to go to school. And so I was going to like sell it, didn't really work out. So I decided to rent it, and then realized like, oh, this is like a pretty good way to make some other money. Plus, I had good renters, so I had a good experience. They were sort of taking care of my mortgage. I made just a little bit above that. So I went away to school for about a year, came back to the 160th, and decided instead of moving back into that house, I'd just keep renting it and buy another one.
Yeah.
So then I bought a place in Nashville, moved into that one. And then an opportunity came up to buy, it was like 2 townhouses that like with a shared wall kind of thing, like HPR. And so opportunity to buy the other one came up. So I ended up selling the Clarksville house and buying the other Nashville house, all while deployed. So I had like 2 key Night Stalker buddies, one who was like a real estate agent on the side. He sold the house for me. And then another buddy who I had under power of attorney, he signed all the paperwork for me. So I like literally bought and sold a house from my rack.
Not many people can say they've done that.
Yeah. And so I started renting that one out, and I managed it myself. And then eventually, Brittany and I bought this next house that we lived in, so that I started renting out the other house that I had. And so then then I took a portion of that house, like the basement, and built that out to like an apartment.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of its own thing. It's connected to the house, but it's got its own entrance. It's kind of its own separate thing.
So that's like 3 properties in one, really, I guess?
Well, that one I guess would be 2, because that's like the one I live in. And then the other one is 2 townhouses. So now I've got those 2 as like long-term rentals, and then I kind of run the apartment as like a medium-term rental. So like traveling workers and things like that. So like right now I've got a musician who's in there who she's just in town for, I don't know, like 5 or 6 months, just doing music stuff, whatever, you know,
Yeah,
whatever
perfect
music
place
people
for that.
do. Yeah. And so it's just, and it works out really good. And so I started having like my own personal rentals, but then while I was active duty, the other thing I was doing was like a very close friend of mine who, you know, he was my classmate at West Point, wrestled with me there. And he got out, and then he was sort of like bought a house, PCS, bought a house, PCS. And so then he got out of the Army and he had like collected some houses basically.
Yeah.
And so we got to talking, and we kind of both realized we'd both sort of stumbled into real estate separately. And so we decided to partner up and start a company.
That's
and
awesome.
so, yeah, so we each have our own like small portfolios with like a couple of houses, and then we've got like a company with a portfolio of its own.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided it took us a while. Like I created an LLC, did all the things, didn't do anything with it for like a year. For like a whole year, we just talked about what we were going to do. I just like wanted to lock an LLC in, right? And then we kind of started honing in on like, okay, what do we want to focus on? All that kind of stuff. We started focusing commercial. And then we got a few commercial properties that we're developing now inside of that. And that's kind of like the company I want to eventually build larger.
And are the properties here in Middle Tennessee or?
So my personal properties are here in Nashville. My partner Travis, he's got a few different places because of the way he was moving around. But he lives in East Tennessee in Johnson City. So that area, the Tri-Cities, you got Kingsport, Johnson City, and Bristol. And then that's like right on the border of Virginia there.
Nice.
So there's just a lot of growth in that area. It's an area that he lived in just because of his day job, was at a chemical company there doing a bunch of management stuff. So that's where our portfolio that we have together is focused over there. So we've got like one property that's a motel. So it's 3 buildings. It's like 27 units.
I think I made the recommendation when you guys bought that to make each room a different themed bar.
Yeah.
I was like, don't renovate it back into
No need to
a living
like rent
space.
it to places. Just
no,
make
it should be
27 bars.
Yeah. And then the bathrooms connect so that you can just go to each of the different teams.
Yeah, very complex. Ultimately, it seemed like a lot more of an endeavor to make it 27 bars. So we ended up sticking with motel rooms.
Fine.
Yeah.
Boring.
But you know what I did, though, that actually was kind of cool, is that studio apartment I built in my house, I used it as kind of like a test bed because we didn't build the motel. We're renovating the whole thing. But we're running it more as like an extended stay model. So we don't do like nightly rates. We have people that come in because there's like that chemical company there, which is massive. They've got a ton of contract work. There's a lot of like they're building a Hard Rock casino and hotel over in Bristol.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of like travel workers and things like that. But there's not really a whole lot of that like medium term housing for people that need a couple of months at a time or whatever. And so that's kind of our focus area. And he actually built like an Airbnb apartment in his house, and I did the same thing, and we were like sharing notes,
kind of learning,
and like doing a test bed on like a small scale as of how we were going to run this motel. So
renovations are not easy.
Yeah, they are.
Managing it is challenging. You have all your subcontractors unless you're doing it yourself, which I don't know what the plan is for you guys, but there's a lot that goes into that renovation.
Yeah, we've learned a ton of lessons. And so like on that property, but the renovation stuff and all of that has been a huge learning curve. Like we decided to just, rather than like being really smart and then doing stuff, we'll just make a bunch of mistakes and like build the airplane in flight.
There you go.
So we're doing all right though. We are slightly behind where we wanted to be timeline wise, but we're still moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
We did have to like get rid of one GC that just wasn't working out, and without going too far, wasn't communicating, wasn't doing the things we expected, and so then we had managed a little bit of it ourselves. Now we're kind of in a place where we're looking for new ones and things like that. So there's a few little hiccups there. But it is like actively running. We've got like 15 or 16 units that are actively occupied right now.
That's really cool.
So we're continuing to occupy or use the rooms and run it. And then it's like, as a person moves out, we might come behind them, fully renovate the room, and then then we list it again and things like that. So we're kind of like, as people are filtering out, we're kind of coming behind them and doing room by room. And then we've got one that's in the first 2 buildings, and then we're sort of waiting on one other investment thing to bear fruit, if you will. And then that third building will like completely gut the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then once we get all that, we've got our sort of refinance plan and all that.
Nice.
And we do have one investor on that property, so that's part of how we pay him back his money and everything.
Okay,
like
yeah.
that. And so that's like a whole set of lessons in that property.
Yeah.
But then the other one is the even more weird, unique one. So we bought a parking lot and we are converting it into like a food truck park.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a small building, and that's construction's happening right now. So we've got a small building that's going up. It's like a prefab metal building with like a brick veneer. It's got like roll-up garage doors on the sides. It's like the size of maybe like a 5-car garage ish. And that'll have some bathrooms in it, seating, chairs, all that kind of stuff.
Very cool.
And tables. And then on the front side of that is like AstroTurf with awnings and like yard games and all that. And then we can fit like 10 food trucks around. And then there's a little dog park on the side.
Yeah.
And so that's the other.
That's very cool. That's going to attract a lot of people.
Yeah. It's pretty cool because that downtown area, there's a lot of new development. There's a lot of business down there, but there's not a ton of food options. And there's also not a ton of like quick food options. So for like people that work at like all of the municipal buildings or all the businesses down there, there's not as many like, hey, I need to get in, get some food and get out. Like there's some sit down restaurants and things. So that's sort of the gap we're aiming to fill there. And then we kind of like just threw we put out surveys and did a little bit of research, and we found that there's like actually a ton of food trucks all in that like East Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and they drive all over the place.
Yeah.
So we're trying to we're giving them basically a home where they can sit.
Place where they can
we'll connect them
constant
up.
Customers.
Yeah, exactly. And then they have some predictability. People know where to find them. Their kind of fan base can grow, all that kind of stuff. So that's the other property. But on that one, so on the first side, right, we're learning a lot of lessons about like renovations and all that. On this side, we're learning a lot of lessons about like development, city codes, the order of events, super critical.
Interesting.
If you do things out of order, it can cost you a ton of time and money. And then just understanding how the different codes read and how the city interprets that. And one office reads it this way and one office reads it that way. So like delays to construction and just all that kind of stuff. So it's been a very steep learning curve, but it's been fun though.
Yeah. And then, so tons of questions there, but then you also have a third project that you're working on. This is kind of like, well, I guess you have another one too, I just thought of, but like working with the mortgage company. So you're a mortgage lender too. I
am. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like my day job.
Yeah.
That's like my main job really is mortgage. And that's actually this little handy dandy hat here, Evolution Mortgage, started by Mark Kong and Jordan Com, a couple of West Point guys who are awesome. Jordan was a Ranger Regiment guy. And they basically separately got into mortgage and then sort of combined forces in a similar way that like Travis and I did with our other business, and decided to build their own mortgage business. And Jordan and I are good friends, and we'd been talking, and I know I wanted to do things in real estate. I knew that I wanted to do something that could complement my other real estate stuff as I was leaving the Army, but I wasn't 100% sure exactly what. And I was toying with the idea of being an agent for a while, but I felt mortgage fit my lifestyle just a little bit better just because it's more remote. I can kind of do it from anywhere. If I'm going to do other properties or whatever, I can still sit down. I can see you being
a really good real estate agent, though.
Yeah, but the challenge there is that you have to like physically be places at times.
Yeah.
So like, if I'm showing houses or doing whatever, like I have to be there, and there's a lot more in person. Whereas on the mortgage side, you can do a lot more remotely, which gave me a little bit more flexibility with my schedule.
Yeah.
And then also I just felt like, real estate, there's a ton of problems to solve, right? Whether it's the maintenance side of things, it's, if you're underwriting deals, and that's one of the things I really love about it. There's always like new problems to solve. But I really found that like the finance side of it was interesting to me, like how you're funding a deal, just how the whole mortgage system works. I just find it interesting. So like that's kind of how between the flexibility that it offered me and the types of problems that I would be solving, that's kind of why I gravitated towards that side of things.
What are some of the things that homeowners can do to like improve their chances of getting that loan?
Well, so it kind of depends, but I mean the big ones are like monitoring your credit score, obviously keeping track of that kind of stuff. Simple stuff like budgeting, like knowing where you're spending your money. Like a lot of people don't pay that much attention. Now you're having 2 Netflix accounts, probably not going to affect your ability to get a mortgage, but just the principle of budgeting and understanding, okay, what am I spending all my money on and how am I tracking all of my money?
DoorDash. All of it goes to DoorDash.
Oh, yeah. So I do that. Like I've gotten the habit of doing that myself, and I find that like eating out is one expense that I'm like, man, I spend way more money than I should.
Being disciplined in that realm.
That's tricky because it's just like, especially when you're doing it, you're on the go or you're busy, you're working, you work a late evening, and next thing you know, it's like 6 or 7, and you know, not that that's super late, but you're like, oh, I need to eat something, and then I'm like, dang, I didn't like defrost any meat, or like I didn't pull anything out. Like
you get to go to the grocery store this weekend.
Like, you know what? Pull the phone up, order it, and I'll spend $30 on a sandwich. Yep.
Yeah.
So like that adds up. That's probably not necessarily going to be your discriminator for a mortgage per se, but I think just the habit of understanding like budgeting and doing all that stuff, tracking your credit, looking at where your liabilities are, things like car payments, student loans, your credit card usage, like whether you're carrying big balances all the time on your credit cards. Like it's pretty straightforward and it's pretty simple. The other big one that I'm starting to learn too, especially for myself, is because I've got like 4 jobs realistically, but so I make some W-2 pay, but I make some 1099 pay. But like on the mortgage side, that's all commission based. I do a little bit of like consulting, it's a totally separate thing, but that's 1099
That was
work.
the 4th one I was thinking
of. There's 1099 work there. So typically you have to show like 2 years like in order to show stable income for those types of jobs versus like a W-2. Like when I was in the Army, easy to qualify for mortgage. I get steady W-2 income. It's not really going anywhere. If you're like a real estate agent or if you're a mortgage guy like myself, you get paid by commission. So that's based on the number of deals you do. And like you could have a really good month and make a lot of money, or you could have a couple of months where you make no money. And sometimes there's some seasonality to that too, especially in the real estate side of things. And so it's harder to qualify when you make that type of income. And when you own your own business, there's another game that a lot of people play where they're balancing the tax side of things because you're trying to show losses and pay less taxes. So that's solid on one side of things, but on the mortgage side of things, that becomes a challenge for people because, when an underwriter goes to look at that file and let's say, hey, you made $250,000 this last year, but your income showed significantly less than that, that could affect your debt to income ratio because of what you filed in your taxes. And so sometimes for some people who have that type of income, like long-term planning for like, okay, I'm going to take a bigger hit on taxes for the next year or two, knowing that I've got that big real estate purchase coming or whatever. So that's the other big thing that I would say is like long-term planning can be a big thing.
Yeah, and you get to work directly with the homeowners and the real estate agents, right?
Yeah, so the way I see it, or the way we like at Evolution sort of talk about it is like on every deal we have 3 customers. So you've got like the borrower, the person buying the house, you got the buyer's agent and the seller's agent, because we work with all of them. And they will all reach out to us at various times throughout the process to ask questions about, maybe for example, like a buyer's agent might be trying to strategize how they're going to make offers, and they're trying to, get a good deal, but maybe not be offensive and lowball or whatever. And so they're trying to get the financial picture from me. So, that's part of my job is to like deal with the borrower, figure out like what their goals and things are. Is this a forever home? Is this an investment property? Do you want to hold on to it for 2, 3 to 5 years? How long do you intend to hold this?
Because there's different types of mortgages, right?
Well, yeah, there's different like mortgage products, but then there's also like you can structure them slightly differently. Like for example, if you're like a VA buyer, right? You don't have to put any money down typically, but you can put money down. So like, let's say you're somebody who's retiring from the military, you're building a nice house somewhere, wherever that is. And that's like, this is my retirement home. I intend to live here forever till I die. Well, then it might be more beneficial to put more money down, build that equity up front. You're going to pay less interest, all that kind of stuff versus, hey, I PCS'd here. I'm going to be here for 3 or 4 years. And then I'm going to go to the next house and I may sell it or I may rent it, whatever. I don't want to put a lot of my own money up front into the property so that, so how you structure it, based on the buyer's, goals and what
Yeah.
their intentions are. So that's a big thing, is like building that financial picture up front. And then throughout the process, helping both the agents and the borrower themselves, answer their questions about how the process works, but then also giving them, especially like with the agents, I'm just giving them little bits of information that might help them
Right.
better, put that deal together. Because
Yeah.
the agent has a super important job too, because they're the one dealing with like the home itself. They're dealing with the buyer a lot more probably on the day-to-day, because they're looking at houses, they're figuring out their tastes and wants. And I feel like there's a little bit more emotion on the buyer, or like on the agent and on the home side, because people get attached to things like, oh, I really loved that kitchen, or,
Yeah.
I really love this layout, this floor plan. My side's a little bit more black and white because it's mostly numbers. And so, part of my job is just to help give them the data so that then they can go and make the most informed decision, whether it's like, hey, I want to buy this, or, this is more house than I think I need, or whatever. That's for them to decide. It's just me helping them put that picture together.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like a way that we could almost kind of create like a partnership between mortgage lenders and MyHome. If there's, I mean, if there's a way to almost recommend MyHome to some of like the new homeowners that are out there. Do they ever ask you, hey, do you have a recommendation for like a roofer, or do you have a recommendation for someone that I can get my HVAC unit replaced or fixed?
Not always, but it kind of depends on the purchase type, right? Because some people buy homes, like, for example, if they're going to buy a house that they intend to renovate, some people buy like fixer-upper houses. That might be a really good opportunity to identify some things. Okay, because I'm going to see things like the appraisal and the inspections and stuff like that. Now the inspection's more on the agent side, but I'll see a lot of that information, and some of that is part of the strategy, right? So for me, I'm mostly focused on the numbers and the financial strategy, but the overall strategy for the home, like I've got a buyer who's buying in Florida right now, who specifically buying a house that they intend to renovate certain parts of it. And so when they go through their like inspections, now it's a VA, so certain things in the appraisal, like they can't get around. They have to be, that those things have to be fixed per like the VA's guidance. But then there's certain things in the inspection that were like, I don't care about that because I'm going to gut that kitchen anyways, or whatever. And so, that in a situation like that, that's a perfect opportunity to promote MyHome. I think the agents are a really good resource as well, because they're like on the ground,
right there with
physically with them a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I mean, this particular buyer, I know they're 160th people, so like I know them from former life, right? But I mean, I've had buyers that are moving from one. I've never met them in person because I do a lot of things remote or over the phone and all that kind of stuff. So some buyers I never meet, some buyers I might. Yeah, it just kind of depends. But the agent typically is always going to meet you,
and especially with like the fixer uppers or the renovations. I mean, you have so much experience in that field too. If you can always like give them at least 2 cents.
Sure, and I'm really cautious the way I toe that line, because as a mortgage originator, my job is to focus on like the numbers and the mortgage and all that kind of stuff. If there's something that I've maybe gleaned from experience, I might like kind of slide that in, like, hey, just something to think about, something to consider as long as it fits within their strategy. Right. Like, okay, hey, you're buying this to fix up. Got it. Here's the numbers and all the things that goes with it. Sometimes when you do these things, there's some other costs you might want to consider, but that's not for me to decide, but I might give you a little bit of stuff. But I am really careful in that, because like you don't want to go outside your lane within that whole transaction process. You don't necessarily want to leave your lane. And so I'm a little bit careful with that. But the other one, just to think about in general, is, I mean, even like buyers of brand new homes, or even a home that's been lived in before, is just the routine maintenance. Like it might not be a big fixer upper, there might not be huge costs, but just routine maintenance. Like I do a lot of this stuff all the time, and I'm not good about keeping track of like, did I change the air filters like this month, or was it 2 months? Like, oh man, I don't remember.
I mean,
like,
if you're doing it every month, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. Did I change it this month? I don't remember. Like, it's like it's so easy. It takes 30 seconds to change an air filter, but like, do I do it every time?
You forget because there's no reminder.
Exactly. Like it might be like 2 months down the road, I'm like, oh, I think I skipped last month. Like, oh, I better change that. Well,
especially for you too, if you're managing multiple properties, that's a lot to keep track of.
Yes, and so I think what you guys are putting together is really fantastic, and this is what we were talking about before, and we can get into all my like lived experiences that are like very very directly related to what you've got. But when the first time I saw what you guys were putting together, I was like, oh my God, that's genius. Why has this not happened before?
Why does this not exist?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
It's finally something that's built for homeowners, and especially if you have multiple properties or if you want to take care of like an elderly parent's property, just change your profile and then you don't even have to be there. They could be across the country and you can still manage their property completely remote. So yeah, just trying to build something specifically for homeowners.
Yeah. And you know what, for me, I even look at it a little bit, like I look at it too from like a self-managing, rental property kind of thing. So I realize like this platform isn't necessarily for property management per se, but there's other stuff for that. Like I use rental software that I use to manage, and now they can do there. It has some functionality in the sense that it's like maintenance request, like, hey, this thing's broken, take a picture of it, send it to me, and I can see that. Or the one thing that's really good for is like bookkeeping. So they pay, like my renters pay rent through that platform, and what it allows me to do is like I don't have any of their info, they don't have any of my info, it just goes through the system and then sends them reminders if they're running late or whatever. They can set up auto pay, all that kind of auto draft type stuff, but then also I can like view and print reports, and so like when it comes time to do my taxes or any of that kind of stuff,
much easier. Everything's
super
consolidated.
easy. But what it doesn't have is any kind of maintenance or management, like from that side of the house, maintenance and just all the stuff. So like what we were talking about with paint.
Yeah.
Like I'm struggling to color match a room right now. This is just a nightmare. Yeah, I literally had to cut. So I took
the drywall out.
I know. I have to share this because I took an outlet off and I cut some drywall off and then re-put it on there so that I could have a color.
Yeah.
And it's still like not exactly the same.
Style, like brand, all of that
the
stuff.
finish of the paint, like all that stuff. And so like I've got some spots in one of my properties where I like touched it all up and I'm like, it's all smudgy. Like, does not look right.
I know. Imagine if there was an app that had if only, right?
Someone would have created something just like that, where you can track all this stuff.
Where you had a painter come, or if you bought paint and then you could upload that, just take a picture of it and just upload it right to MyHome, and then you just hands off, don't have to think about it.
I know. It is really awesome though, because I mean, you talked about things like your appliances. I mean, because even appliances. I mean, there's maintenance you can do on appliances if you're cleaning things like washing machines, dishwashers. Like, there's routine maintenance you can do on those things to extend their life. Your HVACs, your air filters, like all that stuff. And as like a property owner, like I have renters. You hope that they take the best care of it as they can. And like I've been pretty fortunate. I think I screen them pretty well. I've had really great renters who take really good care of my homes.
You're lucky there.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a really good job, and I guess I've been fortunate in that regard. They get a little bit of wear and tear. You're going to get scuffs on the walls. You're going to get little stuff here and there. It's no big deal. Nothing major. But, I mean, expectations that they're going to be, like, keeping up with certain maintenance aspects is not...
It's not expected for
realistic.
A renter to, or, like, short-term or even long-term to have to, like, change out the HVAC filters or, clean out the dryer vent, or flush the hot water.
Yeah. There's just so many things that is, like, if I had it all automated or at least reminders, I could just have an air filter delivered to their house on the same day you know what I mean? Just little, and they're not expensive. I mean, it's
or better yet, not even just delivered, but just someone comes and installs it and you don't have to think about it.
Even better. And so, I have a rental property right now that I just listed, a house here in Nashville that my previous renters had just moved out. So, it's been listed for just a couple weeks now. But slowly I've been kind of taking care of all the little upkeep and kind of getting it refreshed and ready to go for new people. So running around, patching up little holes, where pictures and things were hung up, touch up paint. I had cleaners come through, but it's like all these things that I did piecemeal
and you had to individually hire all of them.
And I did some things myself. So I spent a lot of my time and,
time that you don't have.
Exactly.
Like, you're very busy.
Especially when I'm doing all these different things, it's like what I could have done through this app in the matter of like, let's say 15 or 20 minutes just sitting at a computer scheduling things. And the things would have all gotten done in the matter of like a day. It would have just
booked it right there.
A day or maybe two just based on schedules. Took me like a week of calling people, comparing prices, going and doing some stuff myself. Like, I had...
And then payments are all over the place.
Yeah.
Some people want Venmo. Some people send you an
Zelle,
invoice.
I did Venmo.
Maybe you'll get lucky.
I did a little bit of cash.
Yep, and some cash.
Yeah. So I've done all these things.
Yeah.
And just like we were talking about the other day, you're like, yeah, you can do this. I'm like, the app can do this and this. I'm like, I'm living this experience right now as we speak.
Well, I can't wait for us to go live in August. And
Yes. Me too.
Solve all of these problems.
Solve my problems for me. Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. The paint is it's funny as paint. I hate painting so much. It's like the worst.
Painters,
chore.
do painters even like painting? I don't
know, but it's like something that I'm willing to pay more money for because I just hate it so much.
Just so tedious. It's an art. It really is.
Yeah, you're right. And there's like people who do this and they do it well. There's an efficiency to it.
Oh yeah.
Also, I mean, I was talking about, I had some guys come in to do, and this is what they do. They do drywall and painting, all this stuff, and they were just fixing nail pops and touching up stuff like that. And it's like, what would have taken me all day of just going around and tedious doing, these guys came in like 30 minutes and they were gone. And I'm like, did they even? And then I walked around, I'm like, holy crap.
And it looks amazing.
Yeah. And it looks great. Like way better.
These guys are insane.
Yeah. I'm like, why?
Yeah. And that's the cool thing too about MyHome is it's for the homeowners, but think of like the benefits for the vendors too.
Mm-hmm.
They can actually now get back to doing what they enjoy doing, which is being professionals and getting the job done and making customers and homeowners happy. They don't have to worry about the scheduling and booking and, sending out the invoices and collecting payments and everything. It just solves so many problems on both sides.
Oh, yeah. From like the management, keeping up with things, upkeep, all of that, super awesome. But there's another side to it that I see from like the investing mindset is like the back end. Because like every real estate deal has some sort of an exit strategy somewhere down the line. And it's like, imagine when you package all that stuff up to go with this home and you get ready to sell it. And now you're like, look, I've got this entire maintenance record, everything that's been maintained. You can reasonably assume, like, look, you've extended the life of some of your appliances, some of those things.
Think of it like Carfax for your home.
Exactly. Yep. Home facts.
My home facts. Exactly. Yeah, but there's so many, like, especially like when you start to think about potentially reducing your insurance premiums because you have proof that you've taken care of your property and you've done that preventative maintenance and you have the subscriptions where people come out and actually like take care of your property in that regard.
Yeah.
So
or like energy costs. Like if you upkeep with your HVAC system, I mean, I just had a guy go through and did all the routine maintenance and stuff like that. And he was even saying, he's like, hey, just based on, I mean, because you can't control necessarily sometimes the way your yard is laid out or whatever. The way mine was, those HVACs sat like in a little, because it was a sloped thing. So they had like a concrete slab that had like a lip.
Yeah.
So it trapped a lot of like grass and debris. So it sucked up a lot more than and there was a fence really close to it. It was just the way it was laid out. So he cleaned all that out. He's like, yeah, I think your energy costs should go down like a pretty good amount.
That's crazy.
And all I did was, I mean, I changed like the air filters. That's pretty standard stuff.
Small
but then,
cost savings right
there.
there.
I mean, cleaning up because an HVAC's really expensive.
Yes.
That's one of the most major things, on most homes.
You don't want that to go.
Yeah, exactly. So just the upkeep is important. And so, that's another one, just energy costs.
Well, the cool thing too, like about what MyHome does is not only are you, matched with an HVAC professional, but you get to generate a relationship with that person. You know what I mean? Like they come to your property, you have all of their information and you can just like continuously develop and build that relationship so that it's just the next time you need them to come out, so easy. You don't have to dig through your email to find them.
They probably get familiar with you and your property a little bit too. So it's like, they know I did this, and this last time. And even if they forgot, because, let's say it's been 6 months, they've done a ton of stuff between now and then. There's a record that says, oh, I did all these things.
Exactly.
Let me look. That might lead them to find things easier or just makes their job easier.
Yep. And then the homeowner also has all that record stored in their MyHome hub where they can just go back and they say, well, actually, in the last time we did this, I'd like, for that to be done on this routine maintenance.
And then I love that you guys, like, you vet everybody. So then that gives, like, from the homeowner side of the house, it gives me a level of comfort because it's hard to do that yourself, like to vet business, all these home services companies that do all these various things, it's not that easy to vet them yourself. It takes a keen eye and some experience, and I'm still not that great at it, like, because that's not what I do. I'm not an expert at these things, right? So it's tough to know, okay, am I getting a good deal? Am I getting
a fair price? Is this person, are they insured or Yes.
So that's another aspect of it. There's just like, it's quick. You have a level of comfort with what you know you're getting. And so, I mean, yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm excited about all the things you got going on because
Yeah.
you got a lot.
I know.
How do you like manage your time? Like, how do you prioritize things when you're that busy?
A really colorful Google Calendar.
There you go.
So I like color. So by which job it is, on the calendar.
Colors are
It's
nice.
a different color. Yeah. Yes, I need many colors. It's colorful. But yeah, honestly, I wouldn't say that I've really, I'm an expert at it just yet. I'm still getting better. I mean, so I really just left the Army early, beginning part of this year. So, you know, I'm still learning how to like.
Because I found that if it's not
up.
on my calendar, I'm sorry, but I'm forgetting about it. Like it's
that's a trend.
like when we had lunch the other day, like I had
to
have that on my calendar. Otherwise, like
too.
I wasn't gonna show up.
And it had a color.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I'm still not the best at it, and so I mean, I'm getting better at it. I'm starting to like block my time a little bit more. In the last, let's say, 6-ish months since I've been started doing this, some things I have, like, for example, like I haven't been to the gym as often as I normally do because I'm still, so I just got to like force myself, get those routines built, and then stuff comes up along the way. But, and I'm getting better. Like I, you know, I'm getting closer to having like that stuff set, but you know,
for you, like
what's
your long-term goal? Like what's your like dream down the line?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. My dream. I don't know. I think, you know, I've
helicopter.
Yeah, well, that would be pretty sweet. Yeah, own my own helicopter. We'll add that. We're going to add that to the bucket list. Or at least an airplane. Something cool.
Yeah.
Something that flies. That's cool. But I think, so right now, I mean, I'm doing like, so the 4 jobs, right? I do the little consulting stuff. I'm still in the Army Reserve, so I didn't like completely leave the Army behind me. And then I've got my mortgage company,
Thank you for your service.
Thank you too. Sorry, the mortgage stuff, and then my real estate company. So those are kind of my 4 buckets, if you will, and that's kind of how I manage my time between them. And it just kind of depends on what's going on. Sometimes I might be spending more time on one thing versus the other. Some stuff gets more attention just in general, just based on how I have to prioritize my time. But where I really want to be focused is on like real estate related stuff. And so, I mean, the Army Reserves will only last so long, and because I can hit a retirement date and then that kind of sheds that. But really what I'd like to get is like in the long term is to where I'm just doing like mortgage and real estate. So I'm doing mortgages for, single family home buyers, like, residential mortgages, and then doing my real estate company, and then letting that grow to the point where like maybe I have the option of maybe only doing that one day.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of like trying to build my own thing on this side with my business partner, but I really enjoy mortgage. It's really cool, and it's real estate adjacent.
Of course, right. I mean, it all ties together. It makes sense.
And I think doing both of those things make me better at the other things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You understand the whole market. It's not just one side of the market. You understand all the trends.
And I'm learning more and more. I mean, because on the real estate side, it's a little bit more focused commercial. I've obviously got a few rental properties that are like residential, and then I'm doing residential mortgages. But one of the things that I'm learning a lot, and I've still got tons to learn, but I'm learning a lot more about how deals are underwritten. Like, so whether it's a commercial deal or, because somebody somewhere, every mortgage that everyone has, somebody owns that mortgage somewhere. Right. Or there's someone lent that money, whether it's, a hard money lender or, Bank of America or whatever. Somewhere, some fund or some person or entity funded that loan. And when they made the decision to fund that loan, someone had to look at that and look at all the risks associated with it. Or with, in a commercial asset, it might be more the asset itself versus a residential. It's typically like both the asset and the buyer themselves. It just kind of depends on how they're underwriting. But there's different criteria, there's different scenarios. And so like the more you see these things, the more you learn how to navigate them. And my hope is that I can get really good at it to the point where now I'm solving problems for people. So, whether that's a family looking to buy their first home and they're trying to navigate that process, and I can advise them and help them structure their finances in a way that allows them, to get that that home, or whether it's some big commercial deal and I'm putting together for my company, understanding like how we need to present that to a bank or a lender, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Just trying to pick up little nuggets, as I go.
That's awesome. I mean, so when are you thinking of buying your next property? Is it going to be here in Nashville? Do you want to expand outside? I know your investment properties are outside of Nashville, but all your rentals are here.
Right now, I'm kind of in a place where I'm trying to not grow too much more. Like for right now, I'm more in a management and a systems phase. I'm trying to, like for the commercial side of things and our company, we're trying to, like we're doing actively renovating the one property. We're actively developing the other property. And so right now, my big focus is on the systemization of things. So Travis, he's kind of like, he lives out there. He's the guy on the ground. He's dealing with people face to face.
So Travis is the one I have to talk to in order to get all the bars put into the motel.
That's right. If you want to change all the rooms to bars, Travis is your guy.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's right. So you call him up. Maybe you can put 2 or 3 bars in there. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. What do people want? They want bars?
You got to give the people what they want. That's right.
Ooh, what about this? We split it. Room, bar.
That's not a bad. Or
and
maybe
then there's
every third one is a bar.
There you go.
Because you have too many bars and you're not going to have enough people. It's going to be boring.
That's true.
You have a little bit.
You
less.
definitely don't want an empty bar.
That's right.
That's no fun.
It needs to be exclusive.
Yeah.
But yeah, Travis, he's focused on a lot of the construction aspect, the boots on ground type stuff. I do, I look at some of the things like on the bookkeeping side.
You're just good with the numbers.
I'm trying to be good. Trying to be good with the numbers. I'm learning a lot.
You want to get your MBA?
It's something that's like, I don't know that I'm trying to do that right this second, but it's not like that door's not closed in my mind. Like it's something that I'm definitely open for. And I think especially like as we grow, like maybe it gets to the point where like I need that stamp of approval, or maybe I just need that extra education. Like,
right. Yeah.
You
could
exposure.
do like tailored focus classes too. It doesn't have to be like general.
Yeah. And so, that's definitely something that, I didn't want to. So leaving the Army when I did and I felt like I knew what I wanted to do. I knew the direction I wanted to go. And I kind of already had like my foot in the door on the things I was doing with the real estate company and doing the mortgage stuff. So that's why I kind of didn't choose to go right back to school immediately. Whereas I think it makes a lot of sense for people who are like, I want to do entrepreneurial stuff or I want to be in the business world, but I'm not 100% sure what I want to do yet. I want to get the education. I want to network. That's like a great, a great opportunity. I'm definitely not too smart for business school. If anything, like I don't even know if they'll let me in, but I felt like it wasn't the right timing. Like I think I was like, okay, I would rather get started on the things that I want to do and then kind of evaluate as I go and then keep that door open and potentially go back. And I still got some GI Bill I can use.
Exactly. A lot of options out there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm so pumped to have had you come into the Stewed.
Thanks.
It's been fun. Obviously, like, I know a lot about you and like what you're working on, but it's cool to have other people now be able to kind of hear all the things that you're balancing and taking on, because it's intense. It's cool to see.
And it it briefs well. It sounds really awesome, and it is. Like I'm enjoying all the things that I'm doing, but it is challenging. I have my days that are stressful, and I screw up sometimes, and managing my time or. But
that fits your personality. If you were not doing all those things, you'd be bored.
I think I would.
You wouldn't have the motivation.
Yeah, I just gotta Night Stalker my way through.
Exactly.
I'll find a way.
Just don't quit.
No, we're good. No, it's definitely like a huge learning curve, and I'm learning a ton. And I think, the whole military transition is tricky, but I think because I've kept myself so busy and so focused, it has been, I guess, easier or just more natural because I'm like solving problems daily.
Yep.
I'm like figuring things out. And now, granted, there are some days where there's a lot more uncertainty in my life right now than when I was in the Army.
But one thing you realize when you get out of the Army is no one actually knows what they're doing. Everyone's just kind of figuring it out as they go. Even
that's the trick.
Yeah.
That is the trick. Yeah. We just all fake it till we make it.
You just won't fake it till we make it.
That's right. Well, I'm trying my best.
Well, I think you're doing a good job.
Thanks.
I mean, I don't know. I think that there's also that level of just being like inspiration for others too, to get out and to be able to see like there's so many different avenues that you can take.
Yeah.
And you don't have to just go to business school. You know, there's so many different things that you can get after. So
yeah, and I'm not special. I mean, I've done a lot of like self-study, read a lot of books and things, did some podcasting and all that kind of stuff, like listen to, just take in as much information as I can, latch onto some mentors here and there. And then, you know, try to surround myself with smart people and talk these things. I mean, like one of the things I do, it's just like a little side thing, is I'm part of like a little real estate mastermind group where it's just a group of us. There's probably like 8 or 10 of us that are all investors. We're in different things. We all met at like a real estate event and we kept in touch. And over the last couple of years, we meet like every couple of weeks for like an hour.
Oh, nice,
like an hour on like Tuesday nights. And it's been like the last like year and a half or so. And it's the same group, and we've actually grown. A couple of other people have been added into it, and we talk real estate, and we talk about, hey, what problems are we running into? I've learned a ton from all those folks, like people who have done some things that I haven't done that I'm trying to do. I've been able to share a little bit of knowledge here and there, and some of them are full-time real estate investors. Some of them have other businesses as well. Some of them have like regular day jobs. You know, so it's
Real
a
estate's a great place to be.
Yeah, it's a good mix. It's a good mix of folks with different experience. And so that's another, so it's like, I mean, I'm not doing this on my own. I mean, I've got my business partner. I've got really smart people with me over at Evolution who are guiding me and teaching me and helping, and great processors. And we have a really awesome team over there. I've got this little real estate group. So I mean, I lean, it's like it takes a village, you know, like I lean on a lot of other people. So, I think when people, especially transitioning out of the military, you kind of feel like you're in your own little island, but you're really not. There's actually a lot more resources.
So many resources, so much help. You just got to ask for it.
Yes. Yeah. Tons and tons of resources out there. So lean on, I would advise people lean on your networks, like whether that's your Army network, if you're a West Pointer, there's a really strong network right there. You know, if you came in from special operations, there's some stuff there. People go to business school, typically have pretty strong networks. There's just all these different ways, you know. Or even just like local real estate groups, whatever it may be. So, a lot of ways to get help, definitely. Oh yeah. These problems can be super complex, and it's pretty rare that like one person's doing it all and solving all the problems, you know?
Exactly. All right. Well, I can't wait till our next podcast when we get the app live. You've used it. You've managed your properties with it.
Yeah, and I can tell you all my lessons.
Exactly. Yeah, that'll be really fun.
I'll take that one from like a beach while I'm doing all this stuff. Because
there you go. You're managing your properties from the beach.
Someone's handling it for me.
Maybe you'll be in Bali, somewhere really nice, just enjoying your time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No longer paint matching. Throw that problem out the window.
If I never have to paint match again, it'll be too soon.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate you.